What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Game Junction Podcast. We're here for episode 66 with quite a bit of news this week. What's up, Kurgle?
How y'all doing? Welcome back. I'm Kurgle Games, and we're gonna talk about some video games and some news.
All right. Yeah, so let's go ahead and dive in. So, there's been quite a bit going on. There's more Switch 2 rumors happening, of course. It seems to kind of never end. I saw now that they are talking about potentially a tablet style device with add on sort of controller Joy-Con things that you just attach to it, or it's an actual tablet and you don't have physical buttons.
Hmm, that would be. I don't know how I feel about that. It would make sense in a way with the younger generations, but I feel like all the veterans are gonna be pissed about that.
Yeah, I don't think I like that. It wouldn't surprise me though because Nintendo feels a need to always innovate
For sure.
in some capacity.
Yeah.
Uh, the Wii, obviously, the Wii U, you had a tablet style controller, a Switch with the Joy Cons. So I kind of wouldn't be surprised if there was something like that. But I'm also seeing like multiple SKUs for the Switch too.
That would make
Um,
sense.
yeah,
Do you think it's gonna be like hard software limitation, or do you think it's gonna be actual hardware differences?
I think probably hardware would be my guess. I mean, we've got that now. We've got three SKUs for the Switch,
Yeah, we have the
essentially.
light OLED and the classic, and I was gonna say like it would make sense to have like a upgraded screen,
Yeah.
maybe like additional memory, but I don't know what else they could do that would be like major difference. I mean, they could possibly do with the hardware advancements since the original Switch released. I can see them trying to do like a faster Switch 2, like a Switch 2 Pro or something like that, which would be cool
Yeah.
because they have been trying to release some older AAA games on Switch, which I think would be good. If you pay like $50 extra or $100 extra, you can play, you know, more reliably um, games that require a lot more juice. So I think that would be fair.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it was 2 years in we got the Switch Lite. Then obviously we just got the OLED last year. So
Yeah.
at launch, having multiple SKUs for Nintendo is not really like them. The only thing that I can think of at launch that they ever did, besides color variants, was like the Wii U, and that was just the gigabyte difference. You had 8 gigabytes, I think, for the base one, and I can't think of anything else that.
I mean, you got to also think about the fact that since they released the Switch, right? There's been major disruption and new consoles in that space, right? Before they released the Switch, they were kind of alone in there. They didn't really have to compete with anybody. Now you have the Steam Deck, right? Now you're going to have the new Steam Deck that's going to be releasing.
Yeah.
Um, then you have the ROG Ally from
Mm-hmm.
Asus.
Yep.
Then you have the now I don't know if you saw the news, but the MSI is actually releasing their console of their own, like a
Yes, I
handheld.
did. Yep.
So now you have that. So I think it would be a smart move for Nintendo to release multiple SKUs
Yeah.
because they do have a lot more competition now, right? Before
Sure.
you have the PS Vita, whatever, right? It never took off, or it did kind of take off, but PlayStation is just notorious for canceling projects before
Mm-hmm.
they let them grow to their full potential.
Yep.
But then Nintendo just kind of had a easy battle there. Like they didn't have to release games that were groundbreaking. They just
Right.
needed to work on franchises that were well established, kind of rework them a little bit, and hardware didn't really require to be advanced for those games. But now I feel like it's
Yeah.
gonna be cool to see what they do, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. The handheld competition that they have is unreal. So
Yep.
they're obviously not going to give that up. You know, handhelds have had like a resurgence.
Yes.
People love them again.
Hmm.
There for a while, it just died. It sometime after, in between that 3DS and Switch time, there it just kind of died. There was no like handhelds that were really groundbreaking. Maybe
Yeah.
some emulation stuff here and there, but there was nothing like crazy. I remember
Yeah,
having like
mostly
the
enthusiast stuff, I believe, and
yeah
right around the time, like 2 or 3 years before the Switch released, there was a lot of like hacky, like one-off things that people would make just for the sake of making it. So I think it's cool that they're finally getting some more coverage. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
yeah, it's for sure interesting stuff. And then, did you see also that apparently an analyst said that for sure it is dropping in 2024, which I think we kind of already know. But the price point is going to be $400 for whatever the base unit is.
Yeah, I
Which
saw that. I think it's a very double-edged sword for Nintendo. It if
yeah,
and here's the thing, if right, because here's what happens a lot of times with big players like Valve, with Microsoft, with Asus, whatever, right? Whenever they're releasing stuff, when they actually release this like next gen hardware, there's already a Chinese manufacturer or somebody hacky slashed something up that was already
yep,
ahead of whatever they released, right? So my concern for the new Switch is they release something. It is not as powerful as the Steam Deck. It is not as powerful as Asus ROG Ally. Obviously, it's a different territory because Nintendo is always going to focus on their own games first. But at the same time, if it's something that is subpar in terms of performance, like kind of Switch was when it released, right? When you
yeah,
compared it to consoles, it's running below 750p natively, right?
yeah, yep,
And that's not not a great experience. I mean, not to say that's not a great experience. When you're playing it handheld, it is fine, right? And
yes,
and
yep,
that's where I was kind of like I was excited about the Switch because it was cool for my son, my wife, right? We can play together. It's very easy. But then when I actually went down the hardware line and I'm like, this feels like it's lacking something. It's lacking
yeah.
juice. And then docked mode, yeah, it gave you some extra power, but it really wasn't that great. So if they release the price by $50 or $100 respectively, if it's like a Switch 2 Pro, uh, I think people will be very pissed if it's not a much more powerful console.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. And I also think that this is pretty accurate. I don't think they can go above $400 for like if they are doing one SKU. If that's the case, we're not getting something that's a little juicier at launch.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know that they can go above $400 without people complaining. Their
Oh,
consoles
that
are
would be
never
crazy.
expensive.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure, um, the thing with big companies like Nintendo and Microsoft, whatever, they don't just come up with a price because they think, oh, like we know for sure this is going to
Hmm.
work. They definitely run surveys. They run, they have data upon which they base their pricing, right? So I'm sure
Yeah,
that this is obviously an informed decision, and they believe, that the masses are going to be accepting of this $400 mark.
sure.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I agree with you, and this brings up a good point here. I don't think they're going to go crazy with the tech because of DLSS. I don't think they have to. Um,
Oh, I see. Because of Nvidia's DLSS. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean it's
Actually,
crazy upscaling
yeah.
technology. It does well, um, and I feel like they don't probably think they need to go crazy juicy with it and
Gotcha.
implement this along. I mean, that's just my thoughts. I don't think they're going to go wild with the tech in it.
You
I
see,
think it's going
I
to
didn't even
be,
think about that. That actually makes sense.
yeah,
Mm, I don't know. again, it's such a double-edged sword, man. Because
It really is.
if they put an old GPU chip in there, they rework it for handheld, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna generate the frames for you, and it's gonna be blurry at times." I think people are gonna be like, "We waited how many years for this?" You know.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure they're gonna have to put out something that's kind of not revolutionary, but cool, or I don't know. It's
See,
such a
that's where you
hard,
run into the innovative. If they're not going to go crazy with tech, they
yeah,
think they need to get innovative too,
yeah,
which always scares me because I don't think they're going to go wild with it this time because of the Wii U. That was like, it was like not looking good for them.
for sure.
People were like, the Switch is going to fail. Nintendo is going to turn into Sega. They're going to develop for other consoles. And then the Switch happened. But
Yeah,
everybody predicted the Switch failure. Nintendo's done. Doom and gloom. I remember all the reports very well from then. I
for
mean, I was
sure.
writing up on it, and it was not good. So
Yeah,
they don't want that to happen again.
for
They
sure.
lost millions and millions of dollars.
Hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. So I hope the controller attachment thing is not true. I think that's dumb. Um, doesn't sound like a cool idea to me. So
But as I
I
said,
don't
like
know.
you know, we kind of, I kind of go back to like the mobile gaming space a lot because I think a lot of people don't realize how impactful and how important mobile gaming is because it literally racks in more money than all of the other platforms in terms of gaming combined, right? So if you
Yeah.
combine PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, PC, none of it comes even close to how much game mobile gaming is generating right now, right? And when
Yep.
I say mobile gaming, I'm not talking about handheld consoles. I'm talking about the Apple App Store and I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about the iOS store, right?
Yep. Yep.
So from there, you could kind of predict that they might be going that way because they want to have, the younger generations. They're used to touchscreen everything, right? I see kids
Yes.
playing Fortnite on their iPads, and I'm like, I'm mind blown. I was like, I could never
Mm-hmm.
do this,
Yep.
And so if they do go that route, but maybe they give you, I mean, I don't know. They could even just go with something wild like, "Hey, this is what it comes with. If you don't like it, there is an alternative, but it's an add-on. You're gonna have to pay for it." And I
Yeah.
can see people being like, "Well, yeah, I guess my kids can use this, and then I can buy like actual physical controllers, so I don't have to feel left out or whatever."
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that additional hardware that you can purchase. Here's the base
That's
cost,
definitely
$400.
yep,
You can play it this way, or you can play it your way for an additional 50, $60, whatever. Yeah, I
for
could see
sure.
that. Yeah. So it's interesting stuff for sure. I mean, speaking of Switch, now this is really interesting. The Switch is getting a flash cart. Um,
Hmm.
how this is happening, I have no idea, but I pre-ordered one. I had to. I had to. I had to be able to cover this. Um, but it's called MIG Switch, and we all know how Nintendo is.
Yeah.
So how this is happening and still up, and they're essentially ready to go. They're supposed to be shipping, I believe, either the end of January or the beginning of February. So they're pretty much ready to go. How this is happening, I have no idea. But I've been reading up and watching stuff on this all week because it's fascinating. We all know the like Doug Bowser stuff, going to jail,
Yeah.
or Gary Bowser, not Doug Bowser. Sorry, Gary Bowser. But it's super interesting that before the console is even finished, that this can
That's
happen.
crazy.
Yeah, it really is. With Nintendo, I mean, it's kind of shocking, but yeah, it sounds cool. I mean, access whatever games on your Switch without
Yeah.
doing something to the physical hardware, um, is very fascinating. But yeah, it's called MIG Switch from Russia with love. Here is what it says. On the first, we got an update from them. So while you're waiting for your own MIG Switch unit, Uh, In-depth third-party independent reviews, MIG Switch from the samples we sent out. Yeah, so I mean, like, there's already copies floating out there.
I mean, I don't find it surprising actually because when you think about the kid that hacked Rockstar with a
Mm-hmm.
freaking Fire, like the Fire TV, the Amazon TV stick, and a mobile phone, he accessed all of their shit.
Yeah,
I'm completely not surprised because the generations after us are way too smart.
they
Our
are.
kids
Yep.
are gonna be way too smart. I'm absolutely not surprised, and I'm never, so many people will be like, "Oh my God, like so and so company got hacked," and I'm like, I work in software, so seeing shit happen like that all the time, and just younger generations are crazy. So the
Yeah,
fact that that they're quote unquote releasing something that's not even out already, right?
yeah,
Is it makes sense. They 100% access stuff from their database. They 100% have, the security protocols, and they probably pulled the whole data structure and they just
yeah.
reverse engineered it into whatever they wanted. So
Well, I mean,
it
people are
is,
always checking the code for all the updates and seeing if there's
yep,
anything listed or any sort of like leaks that they can put out there and stuff like that. So
100%.
it's been happening for forever. I'm just shocked that this entire website that they have put up is not down. But yeah. So Gary Bowser says he's not involved, which he was the big guy behind the whole deal before with Nintendo. Yeah, he had 40 months in prison for the distribution and sale of piracy devices back in 2022.
That's
So
scary.
it is, yeah, and he's going to be paying Nintendo. I forget the exact amount,
I remember I read about it. It's some crazy freaking
$1,000 per month for the
the rest
next
of his
40 months.
life or some
Yeah,
shit.
demanding I sent. Yeah, so yeah, that's crazy, just absolutely crazy. So how this is happening, I have no idea. But it's interesting. It's interesting for sure. So I know I want to check it out. I'm a
For
big enough
sure.
Switch fan, and I'm curious what all it can do. I mean, it's weird because, like I said, the console's not finished, so I don't know how I feel about it. Um, for games that are like currently being sold, I'm like I don't support, like stealing games or anything. So
Yeah.
I'm just interested to see the actual physical hardware here. I'm a big EverDrive guy, so for my retro consoles, I don't mind pulling all my backups and stuff that I've stored on my hard drives over the years,
Yeah.
and pulling and playing those. But something that's currently being sold, it is a little weird, and you touch a big gray area there.
Oh, for sure.
With people. So yeah, I mean, Twitter's been absolutely blown up with this. Every time I pull up the feed, I see tweets about this product because it's kind of that crazy in the gaming world that something this is a physical item and it's Nintendo who's crazy with this stuff. So
Oh yeah, they're very oppressive of anything, and I mean, you get into like how ethical like any of this stuff is,
yeah,
and I always tell people like the reason why emulation originally started, I don't think it started to steal games. I think it started because one of the things that Nintendo is terrible about is preservation of old games, right?
yeah,
Like you would literally lose access to some of your games. Like it shouldn't be the case, right? At least that's my
right,
opinion.
yeah,
So if somebody can, get a cracked edition of a game, but they get it after they purchased um a copy already, I don't know why they should get in trouble for that, right? But then, how do you verify that? And you get into all sorts of other things that affect that. It's
yeah.
like a guessing game, So, talking of consoles, though, unless you wanted to say anything else about this,
No, I mean, yeah, I feel the same. I'm with you on that. So it's just
um,
kind of a gray area for everyone, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. But speaking that Switch 2 might be getting a refresh, somewhat of a refresh, I guess. It is a new iteration, but Xbox is going to probably be doing a mid-gen release or
Hmm.
whatever you want to call it. Do you own an Xbox or are you only on PlayStation?
Yeah, no, I've got a Series X. Yep.
Yeah. I don't have one, so but I think it's a really interesting topic because it makes you guess how much time they had with the new hardware to push something meaningful out, really. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. So this was that sort of cylinder circular design, right? That was
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
put out there a while back. I feel like, or leaked or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was bound to happen, even though they had been saying, "Hey, we're not doing that this generation." Um, Now, from what I saw, this is a digital only console
Yeah.
that they'll sell the disk drive separately for. Is that right? From what I
Um
saw,
well
I
there
think.
was well no, there wasn't there a PlayStation refresh that was supposed to do that?
Oh yeah, that's already out. Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
the actually saw the disk drive for sale at GameStop the other day for the first time.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I'm not
yeah,
sure if they're doing the exact same thing for Xbox, but I mean I wouldn't be surprised also.
yeah,
Um but I don't know. I think they if they originally said like, "Oh, we don't want to do this," they were kind of either lying to themselves or they just said it for press
yeah,
because they know how much money they can make on a refresh, right? It's
yeah,
it's been a thing that's been done. I mean, it was done for even
yeah.
PS1, like even PlayStation 1 had, the initial release and then it had a refresh 2 years later. So,
I
I
feel
think
like
it's
everything has, right. I can't think of. Let me see.
PlayStation 1, yes. PlayStation 2, yes. PlayStation 3, yes.
Yeah,
PlayStation
multiple.
4, yes.
Yep,
PlayStation 5 now, yes.
yep.
Xbox, you see, I don't
No,
know about
yeah, no
earlier.
original Xbox One.
Okay,
So
and then
that's
Xbox 360 had a slim version, right?
yep, had three versions. So
Yeah.
yep,
So I think it's at this point it's such a common practice for console industry that
yeah,
I just wouldn't be surprised. But every year more and more it kind of becomes, at least to me, even though I don't own consoles, I always follow news and I always like to know what's going on,
yeah.
and it more and more becomes just stale news that I care less and less about. Um, but I don't know. Maybe it is an exciting time for console owners every 2 years after a release. Like, oh look, we can maybe get something that's more interesting, but probably wouldn't
Yeah.
be me.
So it's what's weird to me is we're at a time where TV manufacturers now are pushing 8K because they want to keep selling TVs, right? A
100%.
lot
Yeah.
of people have adopted 4K TVs finally.
Yep.
It took a long time, but
For
just
sure.
about everybody I know has a 4K TV at this point.
Yeah.
So now they're pushing 8K because they need to sell TVs. So the
Yep.
TV manufacturers have a big effect on the console creators.
Oh, for
And
sure. Yeah.
all those companies they're, working with essentially. The PlayStation 5 base release set on the box 8K.
Yeah.
Um, Weird because I don't feel like we've even optimized 4K
Oh.
60
Oh
honestly.
no. No.
For
There's
con for
that.
console, it's not optimized.
Yeah, that's always a talk with like in the PC gaming community. And some of you know, some of you may not know, but I'm basically exclusively game on PC. Um, because I grew up with it and I kind of stuck with it. And I have a Switch. I have multiple older consoles. It's just not a thing that I gravitate towards as a first
Sure.
choice, right? Um, but the whole thing with 4K resolution, whatever, even the 4K 60 that they talk about, it's not native. And what
Yeah.
means native, for some people that don't know, the hardware is not actually pushing these frames fully one to one through a
Yep.
4K resolution. It's probably like a 2K resolution that gets upscaled with AI or whatever.
Yep.
Um,
DLSS.
so yeah, So it is kind of silly to me every time I see the advertising they push out, because you will see one of the first titles that gets released on a new console, and it's running at 30 FPS, and it's like, why are
Hmm.
we doing this, and why are consumers okay with this? That's what pisses me off the most. Is people
Yeah.
get so excited about a console and they're like, "Oh my god, like this can run these numbers, right?" And then you actually boot it up and it's like, not
Not
really.
quite. Yeah.
But then
Yep.
they don't these companies don't get held accountable because people are like, well, I already bought it, whatever, right? People are lazy, they don't want to complain, they just want to play what they have right now because it's the new and exciting thing, and it sucks. But what were you gonna say about the TV manufacturers affecting the console releases? Is that what you were
Well,
trying to say?
yeah, I think that, obviously, the PlayStation 5 Pro has been sort of talked about for next year as well. So that's supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this new model is kind of just to, I think, help push the digital only console
Mm-hmm.
further along. And if Xbox didn't do a disk drive attachment, that would make sense to me because they're pushing Game Pass. They don't
For
even
sure.
care about the console. I
Yeah.
honestly, I don't think that they do. It's available on Samsung TVs, LG TVs, PC. You
Yep.
can play it everywhere.
Yep.
So that's all they care about, and they're Game Pass machines now.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, how do you
yeah,
feel about all of that?
I mean, so I'm a physical guy myself, but I've got a lot of digital as well, and
Mm-hmm.
I mildly play PC, and so I've come to the sort of conclusion that it's inevitable, and there's no reason to complain about it anymore. It sucks, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, even friends of mine that most of them are also physical sort of collectors, or just they like to own their games
Yeah.
physically, and complaining about it kind of gets nowhere. I feel like there's a reason that PlayStation opted to still have a disk drive that they could sell separately for $60 because people will complain, and those people are still there. Um,
Yep.
but you saw Best Buy, even though they came back on their sort of statement of they'll still sell games, you saw
Yeah.
them pull everything else, music, movies. Like it just doesn't sell like that anymore. It's like
Yeah.
something. I think it's up to like something crazy, like 80% digital to 20% physical,
Yeah.
somewhere crazy like that.
For sure.
So yeah, I don't know. I think we need to optimize 4K 60 if we get a refresh from Xbox. I would love to see that, but to me, resolution doesn't matter as much as performance. So I'm a
Interesting.
120, frames kind of guy. If it's
Yeah.
sort of optimized, or a locked in 60.
For
If it
sure.
works well, I like performance better. I don't care about resolution as much. 4K is great, but yeah, like you said, a lot of it's not been native 4K,
Yeah.
and I just don't think we're there yet. We could be, depending on how these refreshes are, but that's what I would like to see: a locked-in 4K 60 and a good, solid performance mode. But
Yeah. That'd be
8K
great.
has got to be discussed because of TV manufacturers. I feel like so. I don't
That
know.
makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. I was
Yeah.
gonna say, like, I'm curious about what people think about subscriptions in general, because I don't know if you saw, BMW, the car manufacturer,
Yeah.
actually, and Mercedes, they locked certain features behind a monthly subscription. And this is the future we're going into. I know this is not directly gaming related, but it is related to what the businesses are currently
Yeah.
doing with all of
Yep.
their offerings. So moving away from physical, I always wanted to have like a huge physical collection, and I'm still working on it. Whenever I see something that I really really like, or a franchise that I really really like, I will always get the physical
Yeah.
whatever, right? If it's an action figure, if it's a case, if it's a game, if it's a console, whatever, right? But at the same time, it is so much harder to keep up with. It is so much harder to maintain. um, they're just, you can't blame them. There's really very little benefit to having physical media anymore.
Yep.
People don't want to deal with it, and this is where collectors are gonna be able to in on it even more, right? Like
Yeah. Yep.
you'll see a lot of people, well, not necessarily selling their collections, but they will be able to utilize and leverage
Yep.
the rarity of the physical media way more than they did before.
Yep. I'm with you. That's cool that you're building up a sort of collection though. I
Yeah,
like surprisingly have still like bought quite a few physicals for the PS5, but for some reason Xbox is also my Game Pass machine, so that's why I'm like I
yeah,
don't even buy physicals for it, and here's why. Um,
yep,
the I think it's called Smart Cloud. Smart Cloud, I believe, is their term for it. But essentially, that's where the game is not even on the disc. The disc is just a key to play the game, and you'll
yeah. I
see
don't like that.
a
That's
lot of their game, like 90% of their releases say that. So I'm like, I'm not gonna buy it because it's no point.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
even on the disc.
yeah. I
Um,
remember seeing that. That was kind of disappointing to me.
yeah, yep, same
Um,
here.
yeah,
I've got four physical Series X games. And yeah, I won't buy. I mean, I'm not going to buy the ones that say that unless there's like a crazy deal on it.
yeah,
Um, then I'll buy it, whatever, because I might even grab it digital. But mostly, I use it as a Game Pass machine
for
and
sure.
play what I can on PS5 or Nintendo Switch. It's usually like exclusives or like crazy deals, like I said. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at with it. But yeah,
It sucks. Man, it's depressing talking about some of this stuff because it's the gaming as we once knew it. It's just fading away. And
yep,
even though I'm a avid like Steam user, I believe that yes, you don't necessarily own the copies that you buy because you still need Steam to play them. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, what are the possibilities of it going down and crashing down in the next, you know, in the time that I'm alive? I don't know. Personally, I think they're very slim. So,
yeah,
if my kids don't have access to my Steam account, well, tough shit. It is what it is. But
they will live on.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna leave them the Atari 2600 that has 35 games. They'll be fine.
They'll be good.
Yeah,
That'll keep them entertained forever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Nintendo Ward said it is kind of sad too, but yeah, it is a bit of a bummer. But I've just come to the realization that that's kind of where we're heading. I
For
feel
sure.
like the PS6, and if Xbox even has a predecessor to this, and
Uh
it's
huh.
not just like a streaming deal, it also will not have a physical option. I think Switch 2 is probably the last console that we see with that.
Yeah, it's
Like
gonna be
like
interesting.
mainstream console that is.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, that brings a good point. Let me see real quick before we dive into this.
Yeah, no worries.
Um, so shit, I lost my train of thought now.
It happens.
I had a really interesting thing to bring up, and now I can't remember.
Is it the Xbox toaster?
No, 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 no. I mean, we can talk about the Xbox toaster because I think
Yeah.
they will literally sell gamers anything, and they will just, you know, we will suck it up. I shouldn't say they, because I bought some really stupid shit just because it's
Yeah.
related to gaming. But
Yep.
no, what I was gonna say is you have the mainstream, consoles and manufacturers, whatever. I'm really excited to see what the indie scene goes into.
Yes.
Not this year, because I feel like this year still studios are getting like the big studios are still getting away with so much stuff that I think indie scene is finally gonna catch up steam in the next. I feel like next year. I really hope it's next year because I've seen so many cool indie titles,
Oh yeah.
and
Yep.
I feel like this year in gaming is gonna be very interesting because you have the first few Unreal Engine 5 titles that are gonna release. You
Yep.
have GTA 6 that is either going to, I mean, who am I kidding? I'm kidding myself if I don't say that GTA 6 is going to be huge. It's going to be huge.
Massive.
But
Yeah.
but how are they going to handle it once it releases? It's very important because I feel like people are getting more and more fed up with online video games.
Yeah.
Um because of the way that companies are just making it into these money machines. Look at his beautiful toaster.
Isn't that interesting, man?
I'm telling you,
And
if
they opted for the Series S too. You see that? Digital only console.
yeah, you need. I mean, you need a small toaster in a kitchen. I'm against big toasters, so that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll give him a heads up
It
for that.
doesn't. It doesn't make sense with that choice. That
But you see,
console is tiny. It's
but
shocking.
is does it say anywhere? Oh wait, did Microsoft actually design this thing?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so this is what pisses me off. They will put work. They probably put weeks, maybe months of design work into this stupid ass toaster, right? When you
Yeah.
think about it, instead of pushing those resources into a new console, into new games, like what are we doing? What are our
Yeah.
priorities? This is crazy.
It's shocking. It's truly shocking. I mean, you're right because look where Xbox is at right now. Like, the releases are nowhere. I mean, we got the last one we got was like very mid, not even good
What
if you ask
what was the
me.
last big release on Xbox?
That was people are going to roast me for forgetting the name, but it was that forgettable. It was the Bethesda game. Um,
Oh, the Starfield?
yeah, Starfield was their last
Yeah. Oh,
last
okay. Yeah,
release. I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah,
they own
because they got
Bethesda now. Was
acquired.
yeah,
Yeah, that was actually that was Bethesda's first release is getting acquired.
yep,
Yeah, I
it
don't know.
was. Yeah,
I
and
feel
I
like they
mean
were
it's
going in
it's
a really good
Xbox
direction.
only.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that it's sad because I was actually looking forward to Starfield and I forgot the name. Yeah, it seemed like they were going in a really good direction. They obviously during COVID I don't even know if you can say that anymore on
Yeah.
YouTube, but anyway, um, they acquired tons and tons of studios. It was like week after week, it seemed like, whether it was a
Yeah,
small or big one. It probably wasn't weekly, but it seemed like it was quite often.
for sure.
I know I talked about it 7, 8 times at least. But it just kept happening. It was like nothing anymore. It's like, okay, Microsoft is going to try to become a monopoly in the gaming sort of scene. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I want to say Starfield is the first thing that we've seen from any studio that they've acquired. I could be wrong, but I think that's the
Um.
case. We're only 3 years into the Series X. We didn't start hearing about those sort of studio acquisitions until I want to say right before. I could be wrong, but I think it was right before, and then right after we started hearing about all of them too. Like they just kept happening.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. It came out the end of 2020, November to be exact, because I grabbed both of them within a week of launch. And yeah, so I think it was the first like big output from any of those studios. So there's
Yeah.
definitely stuff coming. But how long is that going to take? Because Starfield, I mean, if you look at Metacritic, is not great if I remember correctly.
I did an extensive video on my YouTube channel. It's actually the featured video on my channel about Starfield, and man,
Yeah,
it's hard.
disappointing.
It's hard beating a dead horse, but man, I had so much excitement for that game.
Me too.
I had, and this is what happens to us gamers often. Is like we believe the passion is there like it was 20, 30 years ago about video games.
Yes. Yeah.
We believe that they when they say they're going to do these things that they actually do them. And then I play the game and literally like 10 hours in, I was like I'm not doing a video on this game. I'm not giving it any coverage. And then after I thought about it, like the day after, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to finish the whole fucking game. I'm gonna do multiple quest lines. I'm gonna put time into side content. I invested like 120 hours. This is not. I played nothing else but Starfield for weeks.
I
just
I
just to
remember seeing all your posts about it for
just to
sure.
prove a point that I'm not playing this game just to shit on it. I'm playing this game so I can have an informed
Yeah,
decision and review on where these games are going. And it sucks. It hurts because I invested all this time and I kept thinking to myself, I was like, it's gonna get better. It's
yeah,
gonna get better. It's fine. It's a Bethesda game. It will get better. It will get better. And all of a sudden I finished the game. I started New Game Plus. I finished 3 more big quest lines, and I'm like, how is this still not gripping me? It it,
dude.
it blows my mind.
I don't know how you did it. I made it 8 hours in, and I was very excited too. I mean,
I don't blame you. I'm
post
telling you,
after
I
post, I
literally,
did 2 videos before it came out. I was really excited for the game.
yeah,
Really, really excited. I love Bethesda. I love Elder Scrolls. I love Fallout. Um,
yeah.
Wolfenstein. All the stuff that they do and put out. I think has mostly been great. Of course, it's buggy and messy, but we've come to sort of appreciate that, I guess, from Bethesda
I don't know,
outputtings.
man. It makes me, I was in multiple Starfield groups, and
Hmm.
actually I still am in like 2 of the big ones on Facebook, and there is so many people that are, I don't want to say delusional. I just think they're just, I don't even know what to call them. Like they're not like true Bethesda fanboys, because I'm a Bethesda fanboy, right?
They're
I
Starfield
love,
fanboys.
yeah, it goes beyond what we perceive as a Bethesda title, and then it's 2023. Like, why are we saying, it's not a bug, it's a feature? Like, no, it's not. There comes a point where simple visual bugs, they're just not funny anymore.
Yeah,
They're they're just becoming lazy. Bethesda becoming lazy. Bethesda is relying on free labor of modding community way too much, personally.
yeah.
Um, but it, I'm done beating a dead horse. It is
They
the
they
it is
did
the most.
confirm mods, right? Mods being
Oh,
available and coming.
mods are rampant already.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. The modding
okay.
community is going crazy.
Tells you how much I've kept up with it.
Well, I don't
Unfortunately.
I don't blame you. I like to read about this stuff just so I can see how delusional people are. And this
Yeah.
is why, when they had a big ambition about Starfield specifically, nobody really pushed them further into that direction, and I don't know
Yeah.
why. It sucks. Like,
I mean, they're going to support this game for a long time, so I expect like big DLC drops and
well,
um
and that's another thing. Like, they announced the DLC before the game came out. And I'm like, why are we allowing the companies to do this? So what you're saying is they didn't finish the game fully, right? They took some content that they
yep.
weren't able to QA right away, and they repackaged it into a DLC, and they're gonna charge you for it, and they're gonna tell you, "Oh, we made this additional content."
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep. Yeah,
It,
it's not
it's
okay. I mean, I've as well talked about it pretty extensively. I think that's been the case since early on with the Xbox One and PS4. To be honest, like, and probably late in the life cycle of like the PS3 as well, where we started seeing that sort of stuff, and it's like, oh, what? Come on, like
yeah,
this wasn't included. You did not develop this after the game launched.
yeah.
Like you
It's
did not. This was made before. You were ready to go with it in 3 months. Like, come on.
yeah. It
Like,
it
let's be real.
hurts. And that's why I think it needs to be talked about, even though we are beating a dead horse, is because the longer you let these developers do these things, they're gonna get lazier and lazier.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you saw, this is funny, but this is the last thing I'm mentioning about Starfield, and I swear we're moving on. Did you see the literal AI replies they had on Steam reviews?
I
Please tell me you saw that.
I think that I did.
So
Tell me a little more. I'm pretty sure
long story short,
they
you
review
know,
bombed their own game, right?
no, no,
Okay.
they the people would write a, let's say, mediocre review. It's not even a bad review. It's a thumbs down, but it's a mediocre review. They say, I want to recommend this game. I enjoyed it, but I can't recommend it. Whatever, right? And then the actual developer, Bethesda, would reply and tell you what you're doing wrong and why you're not enjoying the game the way you're supposed to. How fucking delusional do you have to go to your customers? They tell you explicitly, like, hey, I didn't like the game because of this, this, and this, right? And then you go back
Crazy.
to them and you tell them, hey, no, you're wrong. It just, it was like the low point for me. And I don't know. I just lost all respect for them after this game. It still blows my mind.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's truly a bummer. I was really looking forward to it. I mean, it just sucks, but yeah. So did you see about Tetris got beat?
Oh
You
yeah,
can
I
beat
actually talked to
Tetris.
my I talked to my father-in-law today about it, actually, and he's not a gamer or anything like that, but I guess these news blew up so much that like pretty much everybody knows about it.
It was
And
mainstream, like full
yeah,
blown mainstream news.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, it is absolutely crazy. Uh, where do you even go from there? Like it
I have no idea. I honestly don't know.
I
But I
mean,
think it's
unless
interesting that you.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's interesting that you can even beat Tetris to begin with, and that we're just now finding out. Hey,
Yep.
there's a kill screen for Tetris. Like this actually ends at some point.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so got a surprise meeting with game's creator. That's pretty cool. I think it's great. This kid did this. That I can't even imagine the sort of investment into this. And I know the guys that do the Tetris World Championship too,
Uh-huh.
very well. They go out
That's
to a
awesome.
lot of the conventions that I go to. So
That's awesome.
it's cool, and that nobody knew about this. Like, there's literal championships for the game,
Oh
and
yeah, I was gonna mention. I was telling my father-in-law I watched one of the tournaments and the way that they slammed that controller, they play it like a
yep,
fucking guitar. It
they
is
rock and
incredible
roll
to
it,
see.
man. Like
Yeah,
literally.
yeah, it's incredible. And some people may not know, some people may know that follow me that I played games semi-professionally, and the thrill of a tournament and what you can do in a tournament is just mind blowing. But then seeing people get so excited about a game that's been out for decades, it just warms my heart because that's what game is about. You will
Yep.
have a community for pretty much every game, and they will be so passionate about it. And I could never do anything like that. Like the games that I played, there was a ton of people that play it professionally, right?
Yeah. Yep.
On a different levels, obviously. But I believe there would not be a whole lot of Tetris pro players, right? It is a very niche thing. And when you see them get so into it, playing against each other, it is just absolutely incredible. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I was just like doing even a quick search here, and it's just like absolutely everywhere. And this was the other part of the news, and this was asked to actually be talked about. A news anchor ripped on telling teenage record breaker to go outside and get some fresh air. This is
well,
real
that
stuff.
yeah. So the news reporter is just miserable because he didn't do anything meaningful in his life. Is that why?
She said, as a mother, I would just say, step away from the screen, go outside, get some fresh air. Beating
Oh,
Tetris is not a life goal.
ooh, yeah. She's definitely pissed that she didn't do a lot in her life.
Yeah, yeah, this was pretty. I think this. I actually saw this more on Twitter because I do. Whatever you think about Twitter, but it's a good resource for news and getting people's sort of scope and view on things and where, like, the general public is sort of viewing whatever is happening. And people were talking about this more than I feel like beating Tetris. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean the beating Tetris is not a life goal. Like, I that just man, that's terrible. Like, this kid is committed to doing this, and he loves a puzzle game,
Yeah, yeah.
of all
I don't
genres
I
this
don't see anything
much.
wrong with, I also find it ridiculous that people still to this day and age um don't see, like, I have this conversation with my mom a lot, right? So
Yeah.
when I played semi-professionally, the reason why I never went through with it is because there was not enough money in Eastern Europe for video games. It
Sure.
was not understood. Um, you know, it was, you need to finish school, you need to be a good boy, blah, 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 right? And
Yep.
then now we talk about it, and I talk to her about my YouTube channel, my views, my little community that I have. And she's like, hey, I believe in you. Like, you should pursue what you like. And
That's awesome.
that shift is just so, so incredible. And it's just sad to see that people still don't understand to this day that gaming is just not just you brain rotting yourself for hours on end, right?
Yeah.
There are people that genuinely enjoy universes and stories. And I explained this to my wife the other day, not the other day, but like when she started playing Baldur's Gate 3. um, she was never a gamer, never played video games. Her favorite game is Yoshi Island 64. That's all she ever knew about video games. And I talked to her about it, and I was like, "Look, playing video games is like playing a main character in a movie, right?
Yeah.
But you get to
Yep.
decide all the different things that you want to do." And I think there's a good shift right now with video games, but yeah, seeing shit like this is just Americans play video games. What did it say? Down,
Had
down,
it went
down on the
away.
statement. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I don't see that. How could you say something bad to this kid? Like
I
he made history.
Yeah, I just don't get it. And of all things, it's the NES version, which is interesting. Like he's choosing to play that version, much younger, and all
Yeah,
these various, Tetris games out there. Like even the Series X and PS5 has, I think, two different Tetris games already. So that's cool. I mean, I don't know. I think it's rad, but this lady's a jerk.
yeah. It's
Um, she's obviously not. I don't even want to say with the times. Not. Yeah, I don't know. You don't have to be with the times to
you
know
can't
that.
you you know. I always say you can't reason with crazy.
And
Um,
it's Sky News, the UK. I mean, gaming's huge in the UK, so it's kind of surprising. It's
yeah,
not. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know the reasoning of saying that, but
yeah.
yeah, she
It is what
did.
it
So
is.
yeah,
It's
I
not
mean,
any
good for him.
different than watching shows and TV, so I don't know why. I mean, actually, it is different. Gaming's better. It actually works your brain.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, so good for him. I think
Yeah.
that's awesome. So yeah, and then I mean, you had in here, which we're seem to be kind of aware of, but the 2024 sort of direction for single player games. Um, yeah, what do you think about this?
I think we touched on it a little bit earlier. Um, there is, I believe, not in 2024, but I believe in the year after, and this is where I mentioned indie games and indie developers. I believe there's going to be a big shift towards more resources and more care and more passion towards single player games, because I feel like people are so burnt out over the multiplayer saga that it's going to become not difficult, but it's going to become harder and harder for companies that have been milking certain franchises to keep doing it.
Yeah,
And I mean this in the best way possible. Like I'm first example of how multiplayer games, just getting stuck in them, because I've been playing esports games for more than a decade, like two
yeah.
decades. Ever since I was like 7 years old, that's all I ever did, really.
And you
Um,
played a lot of multiplayer only, right? When you started streaming,
oh yeah,
if I remember
oh yeah,
correctly.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. I mean, I played Valorant, CS:GO, Apex Legends, League of Legends, Dota 2. Um,
That was kind of
I
your
even
bread
tried
and butter
Rainbow.
there for a minute.
Yeah, yeah, like Rainbow Six Siege. Um, Literally any game where I can be super competitive, that was my thing, right?
Yeah.
And then recently, when I started recording playthroughs for my YouTube channel, I found such calmness and such tranquility, if I can even put it like that, with single player games. I cannot describe it to people. Like I reached a point where an hour into my gaming session, I wanted to break everything around me. because it would make me so mad because I was so
Yeah.
competitive. And I
Yep.
hate that part of me, but once I started recording single player games, I was like, this is amazing. I don't have to make it this super competitive thing. I
Yeah.
can focus on the story. I can focus on the elements that are not combat, like inventory management, side quests, city building games. There's just so many possibilities that
Yeah.
don't require you to be stressed out that it took me so long to realize that. I'm just glad I'm finally there.
Yeah, I the multiplayer sort of side of me, not to say I don't touch them anymore, but that really competitiveness kind of lost me. I want to say at the beginning of maybe the Xbox One PS4 cycle, maybe like mid. I don't know. I still even towards the end with my Xbox One a little bit with like Elder Scrolls Online, nothing like crazy.
Yeah,
With Call
yeah.
of Duty. Now, it's not to say I don't play those because I do from time to time.
Mhm.
I like zombies a lot, but I just don't care for the direct multiplayer that much anymore. I'm not super driven to be competitive. I'm not in that sort of direction anymore. And I think that the big thing too is like the games as a service are kind of they've got a big dip. Like a lot of them are losing money right now.
Oh, for
The only
sure.
ones that are, even Fortnite is as big as it is. It seems like the real big established ones are doing okay, but a lot of stuff has gotten a dip. A lot of things have closed down. Games that launched with the PS5 and Series X
Yeah,
that were games as a service like are not even around anymore already.
yeah.
Um, but there's been a big dip. I mean, there was tons of news reports the past few months of these studios losing money, and from what we know and have seen, PlayStation has sort of invested in that model coming up, and now they've had a lot of plans of games that they've shared that are going to be the sort of games as a service deal, and now that it's got this big dip, like I don't know.
Yeah,
So
there's just such a I mean, there's great examples actually of games that do this right. Like, lately I've been playing Path of Exile, and I don't know if you ever heard about it
yeah,
or played
yep,
it, but Path of Exile is like a perfect example how you can do a live service game right. Like, there's no reason for you to make it toxic. There's no reason for you to make it, predatory or anything like that. It's a completely free to play game.
yeah,
There's certain like things you can buy like besides cosmetics that can help you, but it's not necessary. That you don't have to do this, and the game is completely free. Like, you can play this every league for 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 hours for free. It's just free entertainment. And I think there was a big boom with COVID with certain industries. You had
yeah,
the food delivery, you had, grocery delivery, all of these convenience things, and
yeah,
gaming. So a lot of people don't know, but gaming was at its height during
mm-hmm,
COVID.
yep.
There was a huge jump because people were stuck
People are,
in a house,
yeah,
and a lot of people that never played video games started playing video games, and a lot of studios had this breakthrough success, or they had all of these funds coming in, and they kind of rushed it. They didn't, you know,
yeah,
they didn't think that it will slow down. Everything slows down at one point, right?
yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons why. But I think that's one of the reasons why single player games are gonna get some love, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. That's a great point because they're like, okay, gaming's at an all time high. All these games are seeing these crazy numbers of players and money coming in.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, they sort of tapped into that, and they're like, okay, this is going to happen long term. I'm not sure why you would sort of think that. They must have thought people were going to be at home forever.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, it is sad when you see that the industry that you love has dips, and obviously you always want all the studios to have the money and funding and like I don't know how much people follow these things, but there's been a ton of layoffs in gaming studios. They've been
Yeah.
firing people left and right. Um, I can't really say that they couldn't make it work. They probably could, but you know how it is with businesses. They will
What was the big
always.
studio that just laid off like 100 people?
I
Follow.
think Bungie just
Yeah, Bungie. Yep.
Bungie like
Yeah.
let go of a bunch of. I think even more than 100 people
It might
actually.
be. It might be more.
But and that's what sucks. It like all of these gaming companies are businesses, right? And you can't shame
Yeah.
them for that. Like they have to survive, they have to make their money, but at the same time, it blocks studios and developers from developing games with passion and just that's why I love supporting Larian Studios. Like Baldur's Gate 3 has been a game that I've been streaming for months now. It
Mm-hmm.
is absolutely incredible. If you haven't bought it yet, buy it. You're not gonna regret it. Buy it on Steam. You can refund it in 2 hours if you don't like it. Although I want to say it's not like Starfield. It doesn't need 15 hours for something interesting to happen. Like things happen all the
Right.
time in that game. Um,
Well, did you
but
see they added guns with a
yeah,
mod?
yeah, yeah. I think that I'm in a couple of groups on Facebook for Baldur's Gate, and it's always funny to me to see like, you have these. It's all fantasy, right? So you
Yeah.
have your staffs and crossbows and whatever, right? And then you see a guy with a shotgun or some stupid shit like that. It just cracks me up because I like when there's stupid things like that with mods. I don't mind it at all, and it's very uh it's not needed. It's not necessary. But if you want to mess around, you can mess around. Who cares, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, interesting.
So, definitely. So we've also got Cyberpunk 2077 passed a big milestone with their DLC. So it looks like they exceeded 5 million copies sold in 2023, and that's with Phantom Liberty, not
Yeah,
just the base game.
did you play it?
I did, yeah. Yeah, I think after all the work done to it, Phantom Liberty, I think it's great.
Nice. I never had issues with Cyberpunk in general. I made like over 100 videos on it. It is it was a super fun game. I haven't bought the DLC, uh, just because of the fact that I just been so swamped with other stuff. Um, but I think they deserve it. They do get a lot of shit for how they released the game. I think they were pressured so much
Yeah.
by both Xbox and PlayStation community that trying to develop a game for what was it like four different SKUs for both consoles.
Yep.
People don't realize how much development work that is,
Yep.
right? It was unrealistic. People were forcing them to release it. They felt under the pressure. Stakeholders,
Oh,
all
I'm
of these
sure.
different
Yeah.
things, all of
Yeah.
these different things made it um fail in
Difficult
the
for them.
beginning. Yeah, I mean it didn't fail. Like it still sold a shitload of copies.
Yeah.
I was one of the people. I bought, I bought it right away, and
Did too.
I pre-ordered it, and I had fun since day one. I had maybe like two glitches that didn't even require me to reload the game. I've seen so many people on consoles having issues,
Yeah.
um, and it's understandable. But also, you can't expect to game on a 8-year-old console and to play a game that just came out. I think that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
Um, I think people should know better. But then again,
Yeah, I didn't have so I think I had two crashes my entire playthrough where the game just full blown crashed. I played the PS4 version obviously because that's, console, you have PS4 and Xbox One
yeah.
even with these new consoles out. So I played that on the PS5,
Hmm.
and yeah, the issues were minor. So other than that, like I didn't have a ton of crazy things. There was like a few minor glitches here and there, but like I had fun with it, and my experience was pretty good. Now I saw people playing on like the launch Xbox One with massive issues, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
where it was
yeah, for
almost
sure,
unplayable.
for
Um,
sure.
but yeah, I mean, what do you sort of expect, I guess, with that? Now, yeah, they've definitely had time crunches. investors yelling at them, you got to have it out this time. We've got this much money invested.
Yeah.
We're counting on this, and it's been that industry crunch that they always talk about. We got
Yep.
this crunch time. We have 3 months. We got to have this game out, and it was a big issue brought up a while back, and I mean, it's
Yeah.
still talked about now, but it was like a massive issue. People were working like 100-hour weeks, 120-hour weeks working on the game, like sleeping at the studios. Like there were people coming out saying what was really going on, and
For sure.
this game's been in development for a long time, so we know that was happening with this game. So it's
Yeah, and
unfortunate, but
yeah, and people also don't realize how software development and then well, software development is one thing, right? When you're developing an app for, I don't know, like let's say an app store or Facebook Marketplace, whatever, right? That's one thing. That is much, much easier than developing a video game. Um, it is extremely hard. I hate giving, excuses for companies and things of that nature, but I think hopefully they learned their lesson and they'll know for next time. So, but I'm super happy for the milestone. I'm glad that it's selling. I'm glad that people are not comfortable to give it a chance, but there people are realizing how good that story is. How for a sci-fi and a cyberpunk enthusiast, that's like it's a dream. Like
yeah,
it's literally a game you want to play if you're a sci-fi freak. Like
so
I
good.
was so excited. It just from the moment I started that game like till the end, it was just a blast. I'm
Yeah,
super super happy that they're doing well now. Excited to see what the next cyberpunk game is.
yeah, yeah. Me too. Did you watch the anime that came
The
out for
anime
Cyber?
is just like I wanted to fucking I don't know. I want to jump off a cliff in a good way. I mean, it
Yeah,
was incredible. It was I didn't expect that. It was it was crazy.
yeah.
I don't know how
I
else to
liked it.
put it. It was really good. It was
It
really well done.
made me watch one when I hadn't in a long time. So there's,
Yeah.
I think that was the last thing I watched, like anime wise.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I've been out of the loop for years, kind of with it. Castlevania brought me in. I watched that one. Behind the times on that
Castlevania
stuff.
brought you back to watch anime again, or brought you to
Yeah, I
watch
mean, there's
anime?
3 seasons, so yeah, it's brought me back 3 times.
Nice. That's
um,
good.
yeah, I mean, I've been sort of out of the loop by like 60 episodes in the Super Dragon Ball Super, and
Uh huh.
um, I liked it. Stopped for some reason. Probably a game. Probably I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah. So
It's hard to keep when you're a gamer. It's hard to devote time to shows and
exactly,
movies.
like how do I devote time
Uh,
to another medium when I can't even have
yeah,
time to play?
it is. It's a hard battle. I always struggle with it.
Yeah, it
I'm like,
really
oh,
is.
oh, let me add this to my list that I'm not gonna revisit for the next 7 months.
Yeah, no
um,
doubt, no
yeah,
doubt.
I'm only sad that they're only doing one season because apparently that studio that handled the cyberpunk anime is actually a studio that really only does short shows, but they put really
Yeah,
really good work into it. I can't remember somebody who's watching or watches this after. Let us know in the comments. Because I'm not well versed in anime, so I couldn't really give you the answer. I just know that I was reading about it, wondering, if is there gonna be a new season or not,
hmm
and then I found out that the studio that does it, that's how they kind of do their projects. They
yeah.
make a really good fucking anime, and they're like, okay, we'll move on to the next thing.
There's
Which
a lot that do that where it's one season, and I mean there's certain shows where you're like, well, this should have been only one season. Why are we on season 24? Like they could have
yeah,
wrapped this up in
yeah.
one
I
cute
recently I
little
wanted
bow,
to.
and
Yeah, recently I wanted to watch that. I don't know if you ever saw it, but there's a Dragon Ball Z like
the
quote unquote cut
yes,
version or whatever.
yeah.
Um, like I wanted to check that out because there's so
Wait, are
many
you talking
episodes.
about the old one, like abridged, like
I
the
can't
old?
remember.
Because
Yeah,
that's been around for ages. Yeah, I used to watch that on
I don't
YouTube
know.
all the
Yeah, I don't know
time.
if it's new. I just know that somebody
Yeah,
just went in there and just made it.
it's worth watching.
Yeah,
It's a good time. I thought you were going to bring up the new. They're doing the new Dragon Ball show. They got announced. don't know, like 4 months ago. I forget what it is, but it's like a chibi sort of style. Um,
Hmm.
that's gonna be like a full show.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that it's
Now, I'm gonna be careful thinking about that one, but we'll
yeah. I'm
see.
trying to think of what it was called. Oh, Dragon Ball. I think what was it? Die.
I think I
Uh,
saw. I think I know
I
what
was
you're talking about.
streaming
Yeah, 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 yeah.
something. I don't even remember, and it came up. So I don't know. Um, yeah.
I
Anyway,
think I heard about it.
yeah,
So,
Daima. That's what it's called. Dragon Ball Daima. I knew it was
hmm.
something with a D.
Okay,
Uh, yeah. So
interesting.
interesting stuff, and of course a new Dragon Ball game coming out. New fighter. Um,
Budokai Tenkaichi. Is it new? It's just like a new version of Budokai Tenkaichi, or
yeah, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure it is. Let me see what it's called, because I'm pretty sure it got announced as Tenkaichi 4. Yeah. So new Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi. Of course, isn't like brand new news. This was announced a little bit ago, but
yeah,
Tenkaichi game announced with the teaser trailer, and it looks freaking awesome, man.
yeah,
So cool.
nice.
Um, so I'm looking forward to that for sure. I've always
Yeah,
liked the Dragon Ball fighter. So
yeah. I used to get my hair pulled by my brother when I would be beating him in that game. That was fun
super
times.
fun, man. They're super fun.
Yeah,
But I guess we'll wrap up with one last thing here. We mentioned it earlier, but I did want to kind of wrap around back to it. Is
sure, for sure.
the MSI handheld console?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's exciting. I'm glad that they're. You see, it's gonna be interesting to see how all of them handle it.
Yeah.
I feel like our Asus RG Ally was accepted pretty well.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
so we'll see how it goes from here.
I feel like people love the Ally.
Yeah, yeah,
The people that bought the Steam Deck are like, I'm Ally, like for
yeah.
sure.
I feel like they more like the fact that they have an alternative than they like the actual console.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
it might
Like
be. Yeah.
it's more of like, oh, I can. I don't have to just click this button. I can choose between two different buttons, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
think it's more of that, but that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, because I mean, I even forgot about the Lenovo Legion Go. I don't hear that talked about in the same way that the Ally and the Steam Deck. I honestly, like in
Well,
the sort
it
of
just
circle I'm in, I don't hear about the Steam Deck at all anymore. It's all Ally, like
yeah,
literally across
yeah.
the board. Um, I am
Well, I mean,
interested in the OLED though.
Steam Deck OLED.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
I mean,
OLED screens a lot.
yeah. It is once you get nicer screens, it's really hard to go back to shitty stuff.
I mean, that's the way it
Um,
is with the Switch. I mean, I've
yeah.
gone back and looked at the lights and like my daughter's standard Switch, and it is night and day. Just with an OLED screen. Um,
Oh, for sure.
you get those black levels and sort of brightness that you just don't get with the standard LCD.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, MSI throwing their hat in the ring. I think it's going to be cool. I mean, I think competition's good.
Competition is always
Whether
good because then us as consumers, we win. We
Yep,
always win. When there's competition, we always win.
always,
Um,
yeah.
it's great. I believe it's great.
Yeah, for sure. So it'll be cool to see what becomes of this, but it says
I
more
think it was
details.
confirmed. I think it was confirmed that it's gonna be a Intel CPU though, while Steam Deck and I believe both and ROG Ally are using a AMD processor. So we're gonna see how the Intel is not very, at least in the last couple of years, not super regarded as a good mobile chip, like what goes
Okay,
into laptops and handhelds and all that stuff. So I'm curious to see what they do with this one because it can affect temperatures and just overall experience of uh of the console just on the chip and how much it actually heats up and stuff. So
it's a good
we'll see
looking
how it
handheld
goes.
right there, though.
It looks good. Yeah, I agree. It has like a cyberpunk feel to it.
Yeah,
Never enough of that stuff for sure.
Yeah, it says Intel Meteor Lake chip found
Yeah.
inside. So,
Yep. Yep.
okay.
Does
Well,
it say anything about I'm just curious. Does it say anything about uh
we've got GPU, 8 Xe cores.
yeah, they're
Uh,
using the wait, AMD based handhelds utilize RDNA 3 graphics. Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, I was right. Thought I was wrong for a sec. But I know I read about it.
Interesting. So, I mean, yeah, it'll be cool. It makes it um, hard to choose one. Like, I haven't bought a Steam Deck or an Ally. I want an Ally. I would have
For
got
emulation?
his, yeah, no, just gaming in general, probably. I mean, Game Pass. It's easier for me to play a handheld these days. You're a
Uh-huh.
parent, you get it. With some of that, like sometimes you just can't get a session in at all, being locked to a console. So that's my sort
For
of
sure.
deal. And unfortunately, why my Switch gets played more than anything else. Like I bought the PlayStation Portal in hopes that it would be, hopefully it gets better. But I've had pretty terrible issues with really good internet with it, like games
That
full blown
sucks.
crashing. But I've
Yikes.
heard others haven't, and like I'm checking my speeds and everything, like everything's good. I'm like, what is going on? Like I'm right
Yeah.
next to the console.
But
Um,
that's the thing. It defeats the purpose of having a remote thing. Like, why am
yeah,
I,
yeah,
why am I paying for this and using this if it's just not providing what it's supposed to be providing? So,
right.
yeah,
Which I,
hopefully you figure it out, or you know, it
yeah,
could be a software issue too. You never
they're
know.
going to roll out updates for it, so hopefully it gets better. But that's my thing with the handheld. So it'd be cool to have one of these to access kind of everything.
Yeah.
I mean, Steam's to access the Steam library. Like I wanted one at launch, they sold out. I ended up just not
Mm-hmm.
grabbing one, um, which I guess is kind of good because I would, if I'm grabbing one, I guess I would rather have the OLED anyway and not sort of double dip in something that's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm interested because of that to be able to play what kind of whatever, emulation, all of it. Um,
Yeah. It's gonna be
so
exciting to see for sure.
so yeah, yeah, that's where we're at, and it looks
Ex-
like the MSI handheld will be pretty cool. But we'll go ahead and wrap up here. You said you got to get ready to go, so
yeah.
um,
We will see
yeah,
you guys all next Sunday.
yep,
Hopefully with more exciting news. Thank you all for
absolutely,
listening and watching if you're on YouTube. And yeah, let us know in the comments. What are your most exciting news that you've heard in the last month? We're always happy to revisit topics if they get more information.
yeah,
So let
absolutely.
us know.
All right, guys, we will see you again later. um, we'll see you next Sunday. I'm tired. Have a great night, everyone.